And good afternoon. Sorry, I thought it was a morning.
It's like that. It's been a day.
It has. You see me. We're back. This is Joy with Quells for Change with Miss Kristi Law, who is book author. She is a licensed mental health therapist. She is a director she's an administrator, child
Yeah.
welfare. She's up there. She's up.
You are too kind.
She is the winner of the 2023 Presidential Achievement Award for her commitment to serving her community. She is all around just the woman who did it all, and she's still conquering the world. Thank you for coming to the show, Miss Law.
I'm so excited to be here. You are too kind. You are like way too kind.
Now, so for those who don't know, I met Kristi a very long time ago. I was going through a divorce and with a special needs child, and the only work that I could do was being self-employed. And I was blessed with Miss Kristi Law as my supervisor, which was a total and complete blessing. Like I said, and I have a clip before that, posted, but you worked with me. You worked with me when I was going through a very, very difficult time. And had it not been for your favor and your grace, I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have been able to pay bills, and I have a clip, of course, coming explaining that, but I wanted to tell you, thank you so very much. And I'm just grateful God is really, continue to work in your life. So let's let you have the floor, Miss Law.
Oh, thank you so much, Joy. I'm so excited to be here. Such kind words. It was a pleasure working with you as well. I know before, just in conversation, I think I've learned just to be graceful by watching my mom. My mom was a supervisor for as long as I've known. And she was a director. She was one of the first Black directors at the clinic that she helped founded in Lake Charles. She was a nurse. And I just watched her supervise people with just grace. Life happens, and then you want those things returned to you. Life has definitely life for me. I want to say over the past 5 years, it is definitely life for me. So, yeah. And karma is great. Karma works for the positive and for the negative,
Yeah,
but it works for
absolutely.
the positive too. So, yeah, I enjoyed working with you. We had a good time.
Yeah, well, I thank
Doing
you.
what
I
we
learned a
love.
ton from you. And I do introduce you as with all your titles because you have a ton of titles, and I'm going to list them under the video. but also I want to make sure that they understand that on top of those titles, you are my mentor. You always have been. I've
Yeah.
always been inspired by your work, and the way that you've pushed on through
Yeah.
your situations, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know
Sure.
your mom passed away and you were very close to
Yeah.
her. I know that there were a lot of events that happened,
Hmm.
but Kristi, I
Yeah.
watched you just keep going.
You know, uh, people tell me that. So a little bit about, life. And so, yes, I have the titles. And I tell people, you got to get these titles to get your foot through the door. I've always loved learning, right? I've always loved learning. Eventually, I do want to go back and get a PhD as soon as I find somebody to pay for it because it's expensive. um, but I've always loved learning. My brother loves learning. My mom and dad pushed us to learn. But girl, them titles is because I need to get myself through the door, and I like to get paid for what I do. Please, I am just Kristi. But so I appreciate that, you acknowledging that. Um, so yes, presidential award winner. I feel like I've done a lot of things since my mom has passed away. I feel like I've done more during that time. Um, my mom passed away. It'll be 3 years next March, and it feels like yesterday some days. I used to word about that saying, before I experienced this level of loss in my life, when people would
Right.
say, it's been 20 years, but it feels like yesterday. And I remember thinking, surely it does not feel like yesterday until I'm sitting in the seat and I cannot believe it's going to be almost 3 years next year.
I
Um,
I
but
remember
my
when you
mom
were
is
going
gone.
through it, it seemed like yesterday to
Yeah.
me. So to hear this 3 years has passed, is crazy.
Yes, it will be 3 years next year. Um, but during, did the whole school thing. I moved here from Lake Charles, Louisiana, about 18 years ago. My oldest was in the third grade. My youngest was in pre-K. And I was always career driven. So I was headstrong. I was in the middle of my master's program.
Yeah,
And me and my husband at the time, we made that move because Lake Charles, Louisiana was not making the money. I
right.
wasn't making no money. We wasn't, we wasn't making what we could have done
I get it.
in the big city of Houston. So we moved here, and I think it was the best thing professionally that could have happened to me. I enjoy working in child welfare. Even in Lake Charles, I worked in child welfare. I did my internship for my undergrad at a women's shelter, and then I volunteered at a rape crisis center where I did crisis intervention immediately after sexual assault. And so I don't know. I've always loved doing things like that, right? So fast forward, come here, do all the things professionally, and then I want to say 6 years ago, I went 6 years in July. My husband and I of 20 years, we divorced, and I talk about that in my book. I am not a proponent of
And
divorce,
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
one second. What's the title of your book? Because I'm gonna have it up
Yes.
here.
The title of my book is Trauma Didn't Take Me
Can you
Out.
hold it up, please? Okay, good, perfect. I put the ad on
Yeah, I
already.
have a little thingy on my screen, so it's kind of hard to find.
Trauma Did Not Take Me Out by Miss Kristi
Yes,
Law. Go
Trauma
ahead.
Didn't Take Me Out. It's on Amazon. You can get it by Kindle and you can get a paper copy.
Okay.
Um, so I talk about my divorce in my book just a little. I consider that it's a major loss. I know divorce may seem common in our society. I did not come from an immediate line of divorce. It was difficult for me to end my marriage. And it's still I still look at it as like a little failure point, right? And I know that might sound weird. Like I don't regret the divorce. It needed to happen because myself and my ex-husband, we're great co-parents. We can co-parent the hell out of some children. But the marriage part was gone. We got along better as friends and as co-parents, but it still hurt. And I talk about that, as a loss in my marriage. I mean, in my life. And I don't know, it's just difficult. It was a difficult thing.
So I was gonna say, obviously I went through a divorce and mine was really, it was ugly. God has moved though since then, thank God.
Yeah.
But just like, like you, I come from two parents who have been married over 50 years and happy. They're really,
Yeah.
really happy. And growing up, I've had people always like, oh, how do you know they're really happy? They just are. Now, they
Yeah.
might be one in a million, but they are, my mom and dad in their mid-70s are still madly in love with each other and they work well together. So when I went through my divorce, coming from grandparents who were married till death, my mom and dad to, all these other people, I never saw that. And so I understand what you're saying. It was like I felt a huge failure,
Oh, for
as
sure.
well, because you never think it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. And where I'm from in Louisiana, you can be great career wise. You could like career check. Good person. I feel like I'm a good person, check, in the community, check. But your claim to fame and your parents' claim to fame is that your children are married with children, you got the nice house, and that means success, right?
And we're
Um,
Black, and that's huge.
that part. So, and that's just the thing, if you're not married after a certain age, everybody always wonders, well, what's wrong? Or what's wrong with her? Or what's wrong with you? Or you don't have kids. And so I adopted that mindset. I mean, I was even to the point where when I was married, I think I would look at women funny if they were past a certain age. And I'm like, well, why she ain't married yet? Or why she can't have no kids yet?
Me too.
I was that chick until I became that chick.
Exactly.
And until I became that chick. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. It was very difficult. I still have to tell myself that does not mean you're a failure. It doesn't matter what I do. I remember getting my Lifetime Achievement Award, and the first thing that came to mind was, I don't have a husband to list on the paperwork. Why was that one of the first things list in my mind? I don't have a husband to list on the paperwork. And why was that at the time so embarrassing? Anyway, I've moved past it, but that was a big thing that I hit on in my book because obviously, I don't think anybody gets married to get divorced. I tell anybody that's listening, if you can work out your marriage, please work it out because like you said, divorce, it's just not fun. It's a living death.
No,
And I think
it is like a death
it
almost.
is. It is a
Even if the
living death.
marriage is bad, it's still like a
Yeah,
death.
it's still a death. And so, yeah, so that was the thing. But then I talk about in my book, my sexual abuse. I didn't go into grave detail about it. It was a family member,
Oh,
and
wow.
um,
And how old were you around this
I
time?
was 5, 6 years old. I was 5, 6 years old. And I don't go into grave detail about it in the book.
Right. No.
That family member is still alive. Back in my day, you said you were, you're abused. I guess it still happens till today. And my parents were great. They were like great parents. But I mentioned it that this and this happened. I said my piece, and then my parents confronted the person, and then that person obviously said, "Oh no, that didn't happen. She misunderstood," and like that was that. And so I literally had to just live with that from age, well, it happened 5 or 6. I want to say I said something about 7. And so I just had to live with it until I was 21.
Oh my
And
goodness.
then some things happened in the family. And then my mom, we were having conversations about it. And then she finally believed me. I gave some, I didn't realize I was giving evidence or whatever, but I said one thing when I was 21, and she was like, "It's no way you would have known that if this did not happen."
Whoa,
Um,
whoa, whoa.
so yeah, so it was like, oh, so you wasn't lying. Um, So I do talk about that in my book. I talk
Oh,
about,
wow, Christine. I mean, that's
just and listen, and my parents were great. It's not like I had, we always hear about the parents who were abusive, who just didn't believe their kids, who just had people running in and out their house, and that just wasn't my story.
right.
Um,
Of course not. No,
once my mom,
but our parents come from a different generation.
yeah,
That,
and you don't deal with that. Yeah,
right,
you just put it under the rug.
right.
Um, and even though my mom was a nurse, I had someone who read my book said, "But your mom was a nurse. How did she miss the signs?" I said, "Well, it's simple. You don't know everything's gonna happen to your kid." Um,
And there
and it's
wasn't a lot out there
and it was, and
that
even
was
though
bad.
she was a nurse, I don't think they
Yeah,
were getting trained back then. I think they were getting trained back then for obvious signs.
right,
I didn't have any STDs. I did not have any quote unquote depression.
right.
I was not failing as a student. I did not take on substance abuse. I was one of those youth that I want to say was kind of under the radar.
And let me, if you don't mind me pointing out, how old are you, Christy?
I am 47.
You're 47, I'm 44, and our parents were boomers or
Yeah,
in the 40s and 50s generation. And I just want to point out that they didn't deal with things. There was, one of the disabilities my son has is that he's autistic. That's one. You've got two disabilities, right?
yeah,
But back then there was even no such thing,
yeah, for
right? And
sure.
so all of this that we're taught, like we've been, I know I'm
Yeah,
Gen X, I think you're Gen X too.
yeah.
We've been taught that you have to deal with these things and there are signs. There
Hmm.
were because something happened to me too. And
Yeah,
I think my
yeah,
mom just had no idea what to do with it, right?
yeah, for
So
sure. I
so
don't
yeah,
think
so
my
I'm just
mom
saying
knew
in
either.
defense. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't think my mom knew what to do with it.
No, no.
And let's just be honest. It's hard. Not you and I are in the same field. It's hard to swallow the pill as a parent, because
Yes,
we're parents, that a ball was
absolutely.
dropped. Intentional ball, unintentional ball. A ball was dropped somewhere and
Mm.
your child was hurt. That's just a hard pill to swallow. So, I do talk about that in my book, and I talk about me just being an overachiever. Obviously it led to self-esteem issues, which in turn I was like, I'm gonna overachieve. I was on the twirling team. I was the captain of the dance team. I danced in the Super Bowl my senior year. I danced in England. I mean, I
Yeah,
was just overachieving. Like, what can I say?
killing it.
It
Yeah,
was gonna be done. I was gonna do it right. And so everybody's like, "Great, you're getting all the kudos." And of course, that's a big thing. When your children is in everything back down south. Your children had
yeah.
to. We come from a not prove your worth generation, but we come from a you're going to do something. You have to get up. You got to do something in school. You're going to be the best at it.
Make your
You're
family
going to
proud.
do.
Honor your family.
Yeah. And it's like you're making them proud by your works, not by
Absolutely.
just being. And no shot to the family. That's just what it
That's
was.
what it was back then. Yeah, I
That's what it
agree.
was.
Totally. Yeah.
So I overachieved, and it yielded great results in my professional world, right? It yielded me great results.
Yeah, because it got me.
Yeah, look, it just did. Personally,
Yeah.
um, I entered therapy for the first time. I want to say I was 40, 41.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
I literally, I mean, I've always I got saved for the first time around ninth grade, I want to say,
Mhm.
maybe eighth or ninth grade. My parents switched from Catholicism to non-denominational.
Mhm.
A
Okay.
big culture shock. But you know, I got a chance to know the Lord for myself. And
Mhm.
I will say it's from anybody. I do believe that prayer and my relationship with God and youth group and
Mhm.
friends um kept me through and kept me sane through not being able to have therapy, right? So much to the fact where I was like, I don't need therapy. I'm good. I'm great. Um, Big
Mhm.
mistake. Should have gotten therapy whenever
Yeah.
I went to school for the whole, I should have gotten it, but I thought I was good, right? I didn't see any signs. I'm not a drug addict. I don't do alcohol. I'm not all the obvious signs.
And we
Um,
know in the Black community, it's just really become acceptable
mhm.
to look at mental health because it is absolutely a thing, you know.
And we're getting to where we're talking about it, and we still have a long way we've come a long way, but we still have so much more way to
Absolutely.
go.
Because we
Um,
look at it as a stigma, especially in the Black
yeah,
community. It's like, oh, why do you need
oh,
those pills? Why do you need, but
yeah,
I feel
like
like
it's a
this.
weakness.
Yeah. When your kid has a cold, you think nothing of giving them medication. So guess what? There are people who are more prone to depression that need medication. There's people, it doesn't mean they're nuts. It just means, hey, just
You
like you
have a
need
chemical
diabetes.
imbalance in your
Yeah.
brain. I know for myself, once I started working, in the field that we're working in, and of course going to grad school, and just my lived experience, my trained experience and education together, has allowed me to have what I call like uncomfortable or courageous conversations, what I like to call it, with my children.
Mhm.
Um, I let my boys know, and probably since high school, I let them know the addictions on both sides of the family. I let them know why they may not see their mom do X, Y, and Z, or why I don't choose to participate in certain things. There's no judgment zone. I just know the addictive properties on both sides of my family, and I did them the same. So I let my children know about their family history. And I think us as a community, we need to do that. A lot of our grandparents, like you said, suffer from depression, anxiety, bipolar,
Yeah. Oh,
undiagnosed, just
schizophrenia.
just
Oh, yeah.
the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And we need to acknowledge that. And drug abuse, substance use, addiction. I let my children know, there's addiction on both sides of my family.
Mm.
And my father died in his addiction, and I let them know what's on both sides so they can know, hey,
They
just
were.
kind of watch yourself when you're out there drinking, because you know um so I educate my sons, and I hope that more of the Black community would start doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
And
I definitely talk about my abuse. I talk about my divorce. And Miss Joy, I have lost quite a few people, loved ones prior to my parents. So I talk about in my book also the death of my twin children. My boys
mhm.
have a 4-year difference between them, not because I planned it that way, but there were twins in the middle of them that they were born alive, and they did not survive. So I definitely talk about that. And that was something, I skated by too,
Mhm.
I was young. I only got 6 weeks off of work. Me and my husband at the time, we were young in our marriage. I needed to get back to work, so, I remember grieving the anniversary dates, of my children, which was also their birth dates. I remember grieving those. I remember, being sad and crying, but I also remember I came from, I didn't come from the Black women where you cry,
No.
or
Yeah.
you dwell on it, or have a pity party.
Show
Um,
feeling.
those
Yeah.
are, yeah, you
I
don't
didn't
do that.
either. Yeah.
Those are something. you deal with it, you get your ass back to work.
Act like it didn't
And
happen.
yeah, I had a 2-year-old at the time. And you just go on
Right.
like you go on.
That's
And unfortunately, I did that. And I want to say, I don't think I started grieving or processing my children's deaths like I needed to until my mom died. That, it just forced a lot of things just to be open. So I just kind of skated it, swept under the rug, and listen to Joy. I knew different. I would advise everybody else, go to therapy, get counseling. And girl, I was like, I'm there. I've been able to be there for quite a few friends. I had a cousin whose child passed away. I've been able to hold hands with other angel moms, but when I started getting into therapy on that thing, it made a difference. So, I definitely talk about that. And then I talk about, go ahead, come on.
No, I was gonna say real quick, I was just talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about the Black community with mental health. We were just briefly talking, and just how it's almost like, even in the religious sector of our community, that if you have mental health problems, something's wrong with you. Oh, that's but because I think because of what our people have gone through with slavery and this and that, we don't want to be perceived as less than. And so saying that you have a problem or grieving too much in a way is just almost like, no, 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 you can't say that. Nothing's wrong with us. And that's, I think, because of our history, you know what I mean, and passed down. And it's not true. It's okay to have problems. Everybody
And
does.
it's okay to be sad. I don't think I saw my grandmother, both of my grandmothers actually. I was more close to my mom's mom for sure. But I saw her cry twice ever in life, right? And one was when her mother, well, I say 3 times. No, no, twice. One when her mother passed away. Because my great grandparents, they had a long life. One when her mom passed away, I did see my grandmother cry. And then my grandfather passed away. And I spent a lot of time with my grandmother.
And that was it.
And she just did not. That is just not something that we do. Um, she was a gentle, nice, woman. Like we just don't do all of that,
Yeah,
Um,
same. Yeah.
and I think it's just the worst thing ever. I think the whole adoption that the Black woman has of being superwoman and carrying it all, I think that's why we die early. I think
Amen. No, it's true.
that's
Yeah.
why we're having heart issues or, strokes. And just, I think we carry a lot because it's been historically known as just a badge of honor, right? I know I'm totally guilty of it. I have to rein myself in even now and realize, girl, if you can't do it, you just can't do it.
Yeah.
The world is not going to end. But we have that, right? It's just a badge of honor. The more you can carry and pack, the
Right.
stronger you are.
Yeah.
And the
Well,
more you
that's what
have
we're
to
known
actually
for.
help, the stronger you are. And
Yeah.
and that sucks. We weren't designed for that. We just weren't designed for that.
Just briefly, I was going to say my dad definitely raised me that way because his father left his family when
Mhm.
my dad was 2 years old. He was the youngest of a bunch of girls. And of course, my dad's a boomer. He's in his
Yeah.
mid-70s now, but people always thought that in my life, maybe dad, I mean, don't get me wrong, my dad loves me, but and I was his princess, but he didn't coddle me. Like if he was out cutting grass, I was cutting grass. If he was chopping wood, I was cutting,
Yeah.
because he always explained to me, like, you have to be able to stand on your own.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he always taught me, like, I mean, even if I would fall and skin my knee at 5 years old, like crying
Yeah.
is unacceptable. Like I would cry maybe at home behind the wall, but in
Yeah.
public, and I understand my dad was just trying to protect me because he knew, he always talked about, like, one day I won't be here. And he
Yeah.
wanted me to be strong. And I mean, as far as 4 or 5 years old, I knew that even if I got, blood, I'm bleeding, crying in public was not acceptable. And I grew up with that. And, that's what my dad knew. And I understand, but he didn't want me to be taken advantage of. I had to learn how to drive a stick shift to get my license because he told me he didn't want me to ever grow up to have a car, like to have a husband who would be abusive and be like, oh, my car's stick shift, you can't drive it. And so he he made me very
Yeah.
tough and extremely independent. And I know he was, of course, my dad, I love my dad, but
Mhm.
he was just trying to make sure that, like, hey, I can't protect you all the time. I won't be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so, yeah.
yeah.
But I cry
Yeah.
now as an adult now, and I'm like, oh Lord, I make up for all that time.
No, like you're right. Like the motive and the understanding that, our parents taught us through the lens of where they were at the time. I was taught, I mean, I was a daddy's girl. I mean, girl, I had the total opposite. I was the youngest girl. I'm the youngest sibling.
Oh wow.
I'm the youngest of my mom and my dad, and I'm the baby girl of my dad. My dad has three of my dad and two of my mom. And so I was, girl, I could be out on the killing spree, and my daddy would get on the news and say, well, what did y'all do to her? What did you do to her to make her do it? She's not wrong. She's not wrong. She had a reason, and it's y'all. And he was gonna.
Oh yeah, you guys, she
I
didn't
was.
do it.
Oh, girl, it was not my fault. Now, behind the scenes, my dad was like, "Now, let me tell you something. This is where you messed up. I'm not gonna ever in the public." So I kind of
Yeah.
had a different. I was definitely, the coddled, the princess, the ooh. I was definitely that. Now, on the other hand, my dad was also the man to where, he taught me how to respect the importance of respecting a man. I didn't come from where, women jumped in men's faces. You got girls that do that. My dad was big. My dad would tell me, don't pick a fight with no man that you can't win. Just like he only had one sister. So my dad came from a family of 12. Six boys, six girls. I mean, six boy, one girl in the middle, six and six, and then my aunt was in the middle. So it was all boys, right? And so we don't
Oh
have
my
that many
goodness,
female
is she
cousins. So,
straight? What, is she,
huh, girl?
is she
Yeah.
heterosexual?
No, no, actually, she was not.
I
She
was
was
about to say,
single
because
and
I was
passed
going to say,
away.
it's so
But,
difficult.
well, girl, she never got married. Them brothers, I have two cousins, but she was only a girl.
Yeah, I'm just,
So
yeah,
obviously she was spoiled. And so I
of
think
course.
that all the girls on my dad's side is maybe just like four or five of us out of all of the cousins.
Wow.
And so all of the girls, girl, we are extremely spoiled rotten by our uncles and like our dad. So I didn't have quite that experience with my dad.
Yeah.
But my mom was like, keep you this amount of money cash with you, keep
Mm.
enough money. If you have to get up in the middle of the night and you got to go find you somewhere to stay, you got 6 months rent. If you got to go get a lease and put some groceries and some lights on for you and your children, um, always keep something
Survival.
somewhere. What you're not going to do is ever be stuck without being
Mhm.
able to get somewhere and get yourself safe for the night, and then you can worry about the rest later. um I grew up like that. My mom, she was, her and my grandmother, you're gonna be able to take care of yourself. You're not
Exactly.
going to have to ever say you couldn't do it because a man didn't provide it. um
Mhm. Same.
so
Yeah.
so guess what, that's great and all, but that I think we were taught to live without a man, but we were
Yes.
never taught to live on teamwork with a man, right? So it works great with the independent woman,
Yeah.
but when we're ready to take our cape off and we're ready to say, I need somebody to cater to me, we
Yeah.
got to find a man that's gonna realize, let me help her take this cape off, and that's gonna deal with our independent asses, right?
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
because it's just different with a man,
Yeah.
it's just different, right? So
I was never
my,
taught to
my
about
mom
being a
meant
wife
well.
or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I saw her be a wife. I mean,
Yeah.
they were married for 48 years. They stayed married until
Yeah.
my mom passed away. Um, I saw her do all the things, like she went to work. She was the primary breadwinner. She came home, she cooked, she cleaned, she was just an all around superwoman. What you see, she passed in the family first. What can I say? But she taught me how to be a wife. She taught me how to do all those things. What she did not teach me, and things that she and I was able to talk about when I got my divorce and after, and after all that time, she didn't practice self-care. I never once saw my mom go get her nails done, go get her feet done. She got her hair done not often. It's not that she didn't have the money. My mom was,
I know, yeah.
she just she just didn't practice that. She practiced putting everyone's needs before hers. Um, and so I realized as I got older and
Mhm.
as I got older, I was like, I'm gonna go do this for myself because I deserve it. Uh, when I got my divorce, um, my mom and I had a conversation because I FaceTime her and my dad together. And I told them, I filed, we're gonna be, divorcing. And they listened, they were always supportive. My dad was very big on once you close the door, don't go back and reopen it. My dad was never the one, like I could not be that daughter to run over there and say, I'm leaving my husband to come spend the night over here. I tried that once before. And I never forget my dad said, you got food over there? I said, yeah. Is he beating you? No, he would never do that. Is he treating you bad? No, He's like, well, eat here, wipe your little tears, and going back to your husband. My dad did not play the swinging door. He did not. He didn't even play that with me. So that's the only thing my dad asked. He said, "Are you sure you're done? Because don't go back through that door once you opened it." I said, "No,
Mhm.
I'm done." And then, I want to say it was a couple of days later, my mom called, and we were able to talk. And I came away from the conversation with her saying, "I'm proud of you for choosing yourself,
Mm.
girl." When I say that just did something to me. She was like, of course, I don't want you to ever go through a divorce. I don't know what that feels like.
Of course, yeah.
Yes. She says, but I'm proud of you for not staying where you were unhappy just for the sake of saying I'm here. And
Yeah.
so, that was it was kind of like my friend was talking to me. And it was great. It was a great talk. I will never forget that talk. And she was like, you're gonna go be happy, you know?
Yeah, no, you
And,
do.
and
Yeah.
that was huge. That was just huge for me to hear that, from my mom. And so that we had a good talk. We had, the best relationship. But um I talk about, we talk about all that in the book. And then I talk about the death of my best friend. We have been best friends since the ninth grade, and she passed away. I want to say she was 36. And she passed away. She was sick, but she always beat it, right? She was like my little superwoman. Like she always beat whatever illness she had until she didn't. And so I talk about that. And I don't think I have never been able to have like a female best friend that I call. I had one young lady that I called a female best friend after that, and I've been knowing her for like 30 years.
Mhm.
But there has not been a female that I have called my best friend since she passed away, right?
Wow.
Um, so I talk about that. And then I talk about the death of my first love.
The
My
death
first
of your first love?
my first love, my very first serious boyfriend. I want to say I was in the ninth or 10th grade. My
What?
brother was overprotective over me, right? My brother is just I one older brother, had one older sister. My brother was very protective. Nobody at the school could date me. He's only 16 months older than me, right?
Yeah.
We're 16 months apart.
Okay.
Nobody could date me. He was the basketball player, everybody respected. He was just very respected, star basketball player, the whole nine. He put the feelers out. Listen, nobody can talk to my sister. Like nobody ever. And so he was respected. And so like a lot of people didn't talk to me. And so I went to church all the time. So my boyfriend was in my youth group, right? So his
You
parents
don't get one.
knew my parents, right? Everybody knew each other. As we went to church together, we didn't go to the same school. But my first love, we dated up until I want to say my senior year. And it was so silly, the reason why we broke up. But we broke up for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And then we got back together like after I graduated or something, after we both graduated. And then we got engaged. And he went off to the military, and he came back. Remember, the Marines just changes you. All of the military basic training just changes everybody. But he went off to the Marines, and he came back. He was different. We kind of grew apart, and we decided to break up. But we still kept in contact. I was still close with the family. And we kept in contact. Time went on, he got married, I got married. Um, there's a funny story, but I'm not gonna say it on air because I don't think my ex-husband knows this, and he might see this.
Yeah, I was about to ask you
We
something. I was like,
almost,
no, I'm not gonna
we
do that.
almost got married, but I'm not gonna tell the story in here. It'll be an offline story. So anyway, he ended up dying. I was married and I was living here, and he ended up having a freak motorcycle accident. He was he went, like, him and his wife was separated at the time, and he was going just to take a spin on his motorcycle. He had been riding motorcycles since we were dating, right?
Mm.
And he didn't put his helmet on, and he was driving too fast and lost control of the motorcycle and hit a
Oh my
tree.
goodness.
Hit a tree and like died instantly. And it was very devastating, and it was hard to grieve your first love while you're married. That was that was a strange space for both of us, right? Um, so yeah, that was difficult. That was difficult. Looking in hindsight, I do believe, though, if we were married when he passed away, I don't know if mentally my mind could have taken it. I honestly look at God literally knowing how the end would have been.
Mhm.
And I know I would have had way more children than what I have now. We,
Mm.
we would have had way more children than what I would have had more than the two that I have, right? I've always wanted a big family. I've always wanted 4 or 5 children, right? And he would have given me all of the 4 or 5 children that I would have wanted. Um, so I don't think mentally I would have been able to survive being a widow with him. I don't know where I would be mentally. I wholeheartedly believe that was God protecting me.
You wouldn't have been
Um,
able to accomplish what you've
I
done.
I know I would not have. I know I would not have. I would have been it would have been rough. It would have been rough. Um, so yeah. So
So
talk about that.
you've suffered a ton of loss in your life.
Girl, so much. I'm
Yeah.
like, Lord, is it my lot in life to have the loss? I
And
don't know if it's a blessing or a curse.
well, I wonder because, being an African American Black woman, with all of the loss, what do you think, say, I guess I would say a positive impact that, of course, you don't want to say positive, but what do you think that is something that you got from all of that loss that helped you to continue to propel forward?
Ah, humility, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely humility. I don't know the word for it, what I'm gonna say, but I used to think that certain things wouldn't happen to me because I go to church. I try to live by the Bible the best I can.
Yeah.
I'm a good person. So I think I was able to realize it good things, bad things happen to good people.
Yes. Yes, they do.
Life's um my relationship with God has grown. It
Hmm.
it it has not went the other way.
Right.
I don't think I have once said, like, I wanted to curse God and be gone.
Mm.
And nothing against those that do that,
Right.
because I can see where they come from. I can see that. I'm not saying I haven't been angry
Right.
or didn't understand. Um, but definitely my relationship with God, I think I know with each death, it's gotten a little bit more personal for
Hmm.
sure. Um, and I'm saying a lot. I am trying, I'm definitely more cognizant on focusing on the now. I still struggle with it. I still struggle with it, but I try to focus on the here and now, and be more present in the moment with
Right.
things,
Okay. Okay.
right? I was a planner back in the day, and I still am a planner I still am a planner. And when I say that, I mean, I kind of have my life kind of set up how I want things to go, and everybody does,
Yeah.
right? But it was like way worse than that with me. Like, I remember when my twins passed away. I remember telling my mom I had my hairstyles picked out like for months at a time. Like, that's how much of a planner I would be, like, in my mind. Like, I'd be like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna wear my hairstyle like this, and I'm gonna do this on
Yep.
this time. And like, I literally would plan stuff out. So it's like I knew I was going to be giving birth then. So it will be great. It's crazy the way my mind works, right? We've been
Right.
talking. So I wanted to have my last child at 25. Like I had these hard and fast deadlines that I put on myself.
Yeah.
And with all the death, expected and unexpected, it constantly reminds me, girl, you are not in charge of anything. Um,
Yeah.
if it don't happen, you ain't, but like you're not gonna die. So I think I'm learning to live more in the moment. And I think I'm learning learn to pivot. Life happens. I'm no different from anybody else, right? Life happens. What are you gonna do with it? I try to make something out of. I try not to make each loss just a loss. I try to, if I can help somebody else, with their loss or with what they're going through, then I try to do that, as much as
Mhm.
possible.
Right.
And then I
So,
just, yeah, come on.
do you think with the Black community, the way that we handle some things, I mean, do you have any advice that you could give? I mean, especially any Black or brown women, because our culture does not, it's
Mhm.
coming around, but our culture still, our elders still act as if, don't talk about it. Just don't
Don't
talk
talk about
about
it.
it and you'll be fine.
Oh, for sure. And I say it all the time to people. I tell everybody to feel what it needs, feel what it is to feel. I tell women all the time when they or anybody in grief, when they're fighting back tears, I will encourage anybody, and I do it myself, let those tears fall wherever they may fall. If you're in the middle of Kroger's and something hits you, let them tears fall. Girl, I done broke down in HEB before looking at Cornish hens because I remember my mama cooked Cornish hens on Sundays and she was the best person. And girl, I saw a Cornish hen. It was
Yeah.
probably about a year after she died. And girl, when I tell you, I got to boo-hooing in
Yeah.
HEB. And I remember texting my brother. He's a hospice chaplain, right? He's been a hospice chaplain for like 17 years. He's also an ordained minister, all the things, right? And so I remember texting him saying, I'm in the middle of HEB and I'm crying, looking at Cornish hens. And he said, well, sit there and stand there and have your moment. And when you're done, keep shopping. I mean,
Oh no.
honor
Yeah.
your grief. I tell people that, especially women in the Black community, men in the Black community, tears does not mean weakness. Grief is
Mm.
even in
What
the
did you say?
Bible.
Say that again,
Tears,
because I grew up
tears
feeling that.
is not weak. It's an expression. It is an emotion. It's a God-given emotion like anger, like happy, like sad. Even Jesus grieved Lazarus' death. Where do you think Jesus wept came from? People just throw that around. Jesus wept because his best friend Lazarus died. He was upset. God, he calms the grieving heart. You know what I'm saying? He comforts the grieving heart. I don't think God would have not put that in his word if he didn't know we were going to grieve and need to
Right.
be comforted. you know
Right.
so I tell Black women, Black men, take the time to grieve, cry that thing out if you need to,
Mhm.
because it's going to come out in some form or fashion. The anger is going to come out, the grief is going to come out. I tell them what is very huge for, I like to say, to the Black community, and I say this to my sons or anybody else, this is the time where you need to watch how much you're drinking, watch your
Mhm.
coping mechanisms. This is where
Ah, I didn't think about
a
that.
lot of addictions are formed.
That.
A lot of substance abuse, and you starts off at use and goes into abuse. A lot of times it starts off with some significant event that we did not cope correctly, and we chose to drag it out, drink it out, sex it out, whatever it out, and
Mm.
then masked the pain until it came back again, until it was waiting for us,
Right.
right? And then
Right.
that's where the addiction comes in. So I tell us, watch how you handle it. The overeating. I don't know if you
Right.
watch
Oh
50
yeah.
Pound
Oh
Life
yeah.
or any of those things. Emotional eating, like 8 times out of 10, they identify when they bring a therapist on to these shows, they identify some significant factor that happened. A parent left, somebody died, sexual abuse. It was something, and
Mhm.
we did not learn how to cope
Right.
adequately. And then I think I said, feel what you need to feel. I will say that all the time. You're gonna hurt. It's going to hurt. It's already hurting. And so I tell a lot of people, I tell it to myself, I tell it to anybody who will listen. I tell it to clients, you are already hurting.
Right.
So we can make a decision. We can stay here and hurt, or we can go through it, which is still gonna hurt going through it, but then you're gonna get on the other side.
Right.
But it's
Well,
not gonna hurt. At least it hurt as much, depending on what we're dealing with. So either way we go, it's gonna hurt. So which side of the hurt you want to sit on? You know?
right.
Um, and it's so I just love to tell our Black people it is okay. Our Black women,
Yeah.
suffering is not a badge of honor. Please, the more you can take does not mean it's a badge of honor. Nobody, and that's from anything, platonic relationships,
Yeah.
romantic relationships. Um, it shouldn't be that, it just should not be that. And we don't have to take that anymore.
We
So,
don't we don't need permission.
no,
Yeah.
and let me tell you something, I honor my grief. Today, I had a heavy weekend. I had a real, real, real heavy weekend. We're in the process of my brother and I of getting ready to do an estate sale, at our
Mhm.
parents' house. Our dad passed
Oh
away
my
this
goodness.
year,
Okay.
unexpectedly. My dad literally got sick. 9 days later, he was gone. Um, and so not even 3 years after our dad was gone, which he was ready to go whenever she left. They were
Mhm.
together. He was 15, she was 13 when they started dating. She died
Oh
the day
wow.
after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't. Yeah.
She died the day after his 70th birthday. He was like, I am not trying to be here long without his girlfriend, is what he called it. So um unexpected. So this weekend, I had a heavy weekend. I drove to Louisiana, turnaround on Friday. My niece was on the homecoming court, so I surprised her and I was there. And this is something my mom would have been at, our parents would have been at. So just the grieving, the memories that you would have had. Sucky thing
Mhm.
about grief, you're gonna grieve the things that the moments that you wanted to have, right? So
Yeah.
we did that, but we still had to honor the people that weren't there. And so then I came back, and then last night I spent time with my great niece. And so just heavy family moments.
Yeah.
I realized since my dad is gone, they do more to me mentally than what I thought they were. So I've learned just in these past couple of months, really since my dad died, that I have to give myself more grace and more, I
Hmm.
have to honor my grief. So I did not go to church this morning. I did not even watch church online this morning.
Right. Yeah.
Feel like it because I was in a sucky whatever. And
Yeah.
so I knew this was coming. I know it's gonna put makeup on. Makeup always makes me feel good. So got my little stuff together, and I have one more meeting today, like at 7. And
Mm.
I'm going to I'm gonna honor my grief. I'm gonna spend my time, memories or whatever I need to do. And so
Yes.
I encourage Black people, our people, it's okay
Yeah.
to sit and honor in your grief and have a sucky day. We don't have to hurry up and fix it and be happy. We don't have to do that. It's okay to be sad. It's
I-
okay.
Yeah.
You know?
I was gonna say I've been, my dad was, I don't know if you know, my dad was a Marine. He did well over 20 years in the Marine Corps.
Oh
And
wow. Yeah, no,
yeah,
he was not playing with you crying about nothing. No.
no, no, I mean, I was still a baby, I still
Yeah.
am. But he wanted me, he was the type who's gonna like, he'll take you to the fight and watch you fight, like, right,
That part. Yeah.
And I'm glad because I learned to defend
Yeah.
myself. I'm good. But I was gonna say when I was 10, and I wrote a couple of stories down. I'm gonna think about going ahead and publish them,
Yeah.
right?
Good.
But being so tough, I wrote about when my dad went to the Desert Storm War, and I was 10, and I didn't. It wasn't until I started writing, and I'm 44 now, and I just started writing this year when I wrote out that process of what happened and watching my dad go. And my dad was in charge. He had a lot of responsibility, but also seeing not just the responsibility that he had, but also at 10 years old, realizing like he can die and I might not ever see him again. And my mom would cry. She was crying. My brother was just, trying, just, he's older than me, but, guys just trying to act like it's all fine. But that year that he was gone, it was a lot on me for 10, but I can tell you this, I didn't cry, right? And I think, that time gave me quite a few issues as I got older, and I never quite understood. But when I started writing the story of the things that happened when my dad went to that war as a 10-year-old little girl, who tried to, I just held it on my shoulders like I thought I was expected to. As 44 years old, it just, I mean, I had to stop between crying,
Yeah.
between writing, because I realized like, woo, that
Process. You had a lot to process.
there was an effect on me that I mean, I knew that it had an effect on me, but I don't know that I was ever able to acknowledge it. And I just knew I had to be, put my game face on and keep it. And I was 10, so you understand it was ingrained in me from a very young age with
Well,
that.
yeah. Kudos to you for processing that now.
Yeah. Yeah, but it could have saved me a lot had had we known about more like mental health and things like that. I was talking to another friend, I definitely had an eating disorder. There was a lot of issues I had where I realized now, like, it came from here,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
trying to keep it up from my mom and, just, 10 years old trying to process what I saw
Girl, 10
was a
years old trying to carry it. And you that's kind of preteen-ish. You got them teenage preteen hormones already running through your mind. And you forget about that.
right,
The hormones is real. I mean,
right,
I'm in perimenopause, baby, because the estrogen
yeah,
hormone is a real thing. And we
right,
forget sometimes, that these teenagers and this and that, baby, them hormones is going crazy. Everybody don't know how to act with them
yeah,
hormones doing everything. So yeah, that was a tender age, a
yeah.
pivotal age for you to experience that and not even express your emotion by crying.
Well, and it made me overly cautious. I was responsible, right? But it made me probably for a 10-year-old very overly responsible. I mean, not to say overly, but much more mature than a
That's the word.
10-year-old.
You weren't able to be a kid.
No, no, because I felt like I had to make sure that my mom was okay, and that's as a mother myself,
Yeah.
I've made sure that I keep a space for my little girl, both my kids, but my little girl especially, that it's okay for her to cry. It's okay for her to show emotion. Whereas I grew up thinking that crying was a sign of weakness, but like, letting my daughter know, like, I do not want her to, you know, do our old school Black people thing and just act like, okay, well, so they died. All right, bye.
Yeah. 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 No, yeah. Yeah.
That
People say that.
Mm,
Um, I remember my mom passed away, and my mom wanted to pick out her own, funeral outfit. She had pancreatic cancer, and she, it got to the point to where we knew she just not gonna be here long. So she had like 80% of her stuff done. Like we knew what songs, we knew like she
yeah,
didn't want to leave a lot for it, but she didn't want us to have to deal with a lot. So she was like, I'm gonna pre-plan this because I don't want my family to have to do this last minute. So her, right, still nurturing till the end. But I remember she knew the color that she wanted to wear, but she didn't get a chance to pick it out. But she said, I want this sister to go and pick out my outfit. So she left instructions. So of course, we passed instructions down, and I remember my cousin, I came home for like a day back to Houston. And I know my cousin said, we got your mom's outfit and we picked you out a couple of things. Just meet us here. You got to try it on. I'm like,
mm,
okay, great. And I remember going in and I'm putting on the outfit, trying it on. And I remember looking in the mirror saying to myself, I am trying on a suit for my mother's funeral. And my cousin came in, she was helping me zip or whatever it was, and I started to cry. And she said, let's get
oh,
together.
yeah,
And here's the deal, I didn't take offense
I
because
know.
that's what we come from,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's just what we come from. And so it was more of, we come from a lot of that person would want you to be doing that. That person would want you to be doing that. And I, in my grief, have learned to say and encourage people to say, you don't know what the hell that person would have been wanting. And that person ain't here. You're the living person here. And you try not to cry because that person wouldn't want it and they not here anyway. What are we doing? Who are we proving
Right.
it to? And so I've learned to say when people tell me, but your mom would want you to be strong. I say, you don't, this is why I tell you, you don't know my mama
Yeah,
would.
yeah. She would understand.
And yeah, that part. And I was like, and she ain't here. And I'm not about to make my situation more difficult for the optics of being strong for my mother. And nobody was privy to our final conversations. Nobody was
Oh,
privy to conversations that she and I had on just life and things, regrets that she had, or if I could have did it, oh baby, please don't be like this, just
Yeah.
much like that. And so I'm like, I, I tell it to Black people too, but since we're
Yeah.
white, that's what I would tell them. Don't
Yeah.
do something that's going to compromise your mental to make somebody else happy. And it's nice ways to say that. I have an
Right.
aunt, I love her to death, my mom's oldest sister. She goes to mass religiously, and in the Catholic faith, you can do a mass for the deceased person on their birthday, on their anniversary. And like that's her thing. And so for my mom's birthday, her anniversary, she holds a mass. They call her name out at the mass. And she's like, I want you to come. I want you to come. And so I think the first go around, like I sucked it up and did it because it's not a part of me. I don't want to do any of those things. Like for my I don't want to do any of those things. I don't never know what I want to do for the anniversary of my mom's death or for her birthday. I never know how I'm going to be feeling. And so I try not to tie myself into saying I'm going to do something, right? Because I don't know how I'm going to feel that day. So I had to finally tell her, I love you so much, Auntie, but this does not do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it if anything, it sets me back mentally because now I'm
Right.
sitting here dwelling on why I'm here. But you keep doing what you need to do, and so however we can compromise that, like we do,
Yeah.
but it's just all about letting the person know, hey, I can't mentally do that. And
Yeah.
and, and
Different
I'm
people,
about to
different
set
ways of
myself back.
coping.
I'm
Yeah.
about to set myself and my healing back to make one person happy because they're gonna go on about their day. And it's
Right.
but yeah, I tell to Black people all the time. Yeah, well, I say all the time. Whenever I give them permission to grieve as it comes, grief
Right.
shows up. It just shows up. It don't ask permission. It shows up wherever the hell it want to shows up. And so either you say, and you're gonna respect it. I tell people grief
Yeah,
makes you
exactly.
respect it. Grief makes you respect it. I don't know anybody that has been able to successfully get around grief.
No,
It's
no,
gonna
just
be
have to
there.
walk through it.
And I have a sorrow was in the Veterans Day parade just on Monday. And so we walked in a parade together and her dad, I don't think it's been a year, or maybe it was just a year, but her dad recently passed. Definitely a year, if not a year, almost a year. And she's like, oh my God, sis, walking this parade has me think about my dad. I'm fighting back the tears. I said, and you, this I look, I said, and you better not. She said,
Right.
no. I said, girl, you gotta walk and cry this whole parade.
Yeah.
I
Get
will
it
hold your
out.
hand in front of all these people for you to walk and cry this whole parade. I said,
Yeah.
don't you chuck them tears down. I said, let that tear. I said, you're gonna feel better. You're gonna feel better. It's quite all right. Cry for your dad. You walk in the Veterans Parade in the honor of your dad. Cry. Okay, do it. She said, Kristi, that's why I just don't mind telling you stuff. You just tell me
Yeah.
to just do what make me feel good. I said, I'm gonna tell you what I would do. I stop and cry. I just look, okay, I gotta cry today.
Yeah.
Or
We
if
have
I'm
to
not gonna
support
get
each
paid
other
for work.
better in
Yeah.
that.
If
Yeah.
it's a work day and I'm not gonna take off, I will message my staff and be like, hey, if I'm sitting quiet today, if I'm quiet in this meeting, it's not a good grief day for me. I
Yeah.
put it out there and they're like, good to know. It's
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just let people know, but admitting it is our problem in our community.
Right.
Admitting today is hard for me.
So they don't think you're acting funny. Yeah. No, I know. I
And
get it.
I'm in upper management. Either you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
one or
You
you're a
got
mean
it.
one.
No,
So
no.
yeah.
So, so in your book, which deals with trauma and it walks people through sexual abuse, grief, trauma from just a lot of different aspects. As far, which you've gone through. What do you think is in your future? Like, what do you think you're planning for now? I mean, because you are a licensed mental health therapist, and so what's going on? I mean, of course, you got a lot of other titles, but what do you think your next deal is?
You know what I would love to do? I do want to do another book. I want to do another
Okay.
book. I want to do another book, and I want to talk about. I don't know what I want to do my other book on. I don't know if I'm going to focus on my mom. I kind of want to do a book about military moms, prayers for moms in the military. My son is military, my
Oh,
oldest son, and he's 25. And I don't think I've ever prayed the way I pray when you have a child in the military and you just he was deployed. His first deployment was undisclosed destination. Mom, I'm deploying. I can't even tell you where I'm going.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But just know I'm safe. And it's my job, Mom.
I know. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know where you are, son, or if you're you have not prayed until you have adult children, and let alone if they're in the military.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've been wanting to do like a prayer book or like a prayer journal for military moms. So I'm still thinking about that. But what I think my next thing is, Joy. I want to do some kind of traveling session team. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't want to be myself and other people, but what I see what our youth are facing with today, and
Oh,
our youth, I mean us,
yeah. Yeah.
suicide. First of all, suicide has always been a thing in our community. We're now able to say that our kid committed suicide. Suicide has always been the number one killer of Black men. I did papers on it in undergrad, right? Long time ago. But it's becoming more of a thing, so suicide. I want to talk to our kids about suicide because a lot of them are doing it. Substance abuse. We got a lot of
Mhm.
substance abuse in our community, and it's just taking over.
Yeah.
And I want to take grief to the teenagers. I want to take grief, substance abuse, suicide, to me, those harder issues that may not be tackled so much at home.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So I want to talk about, I feel like that's like the next big thing that I'm working on. I don't know if I want to make it a curriculum. I don't know if I want to be a part of workshops, with youth,
Mhm.
but that is like a burning
Yeah.
desire of mine, to get back with the youth. I did youth ministry from 18 until 41
Oh, wow.
religiously,
Yeah.
like youth ministry. Youth dance teams. I've done almost everything youth related in church, and then I kind of just like backed up. But I feel like I need to get
Right.
back in.
Yeah.
So that's like the next big thing I'd say for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do another book or not. I don't know what I don't know if I want to focus more on. I'm drawn to divorced women, especially divorced women in the church. My ex-husband is a worship leader still. He was a worship leader then. So, you damn sure don't divorce
Right.
active,
Yeah.
active ministry.
Yeah.
um, so I don't know. I'm dancing around divorced women in the church. So I don't know, I'm trying to pick a passion, Joyce. Like I'm kind of passionate about a lot of it, but
Yeah.
um that's where I'm going. Definitely the youth avenue. I'm just trying to see how I want to introduce it. Do I want to offer a curriculum somewhere? Do I want to go to youth conferences? Like with
Yeah.
myself, and I do have some men that are willing to like kind of be on the team.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see how I want to deliver that. But that's my next, I say, big thing. I feel like it's not like huge, like I do it every day. But that's my next big thing, is to get it out in the community for a safe space for our people, for our Black boys and our Black girls.
Yeah. Well,
And maybe the parents, if they want to learn or they're open to these
yeah.
issues. But I know a lot of parents are not open because they have unresolved grief and trauma that they're not wanting to deal with either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So adults are always different because you tap into their childhood and what they're not willing to deal with. And then that opens up a can of worms. Do I want to
Right.
open up that wound if I'm not going to be there to help nurse it? Right.
Right. Well, and I told you, like, I want to have you back on because I think you'd be, well, especially with your professional expertise on, um, especially our Black and brown girls, and as it goes to self-respect and, putting themselves first. Because I think that's something that we don't really talk about is what's kind of going on in our community with with being African American woman or Black woman or a brown, and not feeling like you have to settle for less. And that's, something that, I definitely, want to talk to you about on here. So that these kids, these girls do not feel that they are alone. That there's a way, and you don't have to fit in with people. You don't have to sleep with everybody. There's a way on out, and there's a community of support.
Hating yourself, girl. No. Yeah, no, for sure. I would do that.
But thank you so much for coming. Again, your book, Trauma Didn't Take Me Out by Miss
Yes,
Kristi Law.
yes.
And we thank you so much. I'll have her information down at the bottom of this. And of course, you're going to see a lot more from Miss Law. She is wonderful. We thank you so much, Miss Law. You have a good day.
Ah.
Bye.